With Halo Infinite only 6 months away, there hasn't been a lot of new content to talk about. There's been a couple of images with all the redesigns, more music, but other than that, not any surefire new information that provides me to make a video about it. But there is an old question that has arisen, and it's about the format of the game, being an open world format. And this differs from the original style of Halo games being more level based, with giant areas that you could explore, but mainly being focused on a central objective, slowly going to one overall goal. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you do enjoy, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. The first problem with the open world format that needs addressed is the urgency. An open world format gives you a lot of options to explore and expand the world. But with Halo, this isn't exactly the style. While you do have big maps and lots of areas to explore, this is more linear, and it gives you a straight objective that you have to do. Your focus is on completing that one goal, so it gives you a sense of urgency and intensity to kill those enemies and get past to the next objective. The open world format does provide a problem. If the maps are wide range with a lot of areas to check out, is there really much of a purpose having any motivation to do the levels? Because people could get lost in just exploring the world and not focus on the normal mission that you're trying to attend to. And this would really degrade how intense the mission is and why you need to complete it. And that would be a big problem story-wise, because if there's not a strong reason, there's not a good connection that people can latch onto. The old, more streamlined format has little areas and pockets to give you that worldly feel, but also grants a huge focus on the game and the plot that's unfolding, which is something that an open world, I think, would really take away from. Focus is another area where the game could be hurt by the open world format. In this case, we want to be focused on the story, and the story should be central to all Halo games. It's why Halo 5 failed for most people. The story was lackluster. And if we don't have a story that we can connect to, something that takes main stage, just like it did in games prior, then we won't have something that attracts us to this game. There may be mindless killing of enemies, which is fun at times, but eventually that'll get boring for a huge section of the fan base, which comes to see the lore expanded and Master Chief's story to continue. With all the side quests, extra rooms, and enemies that an open world format brings, this could lead to a lessening impact that the story actually has. For example, maybe this is just for me, but in Jedi Fallen Order, I really got just caught up in going from area to area, killing all the enemies, and the story felt a little too slow for me, and that's what really led me to quitting the game for a bit of time. While I got back into it, it's hard to say that the story took the main focus, and that's why I don't think it worked particularly for me. It's not that the story is bad, it's just that they drew it out long and over so many areas that it felt like I didn't really know what I was playing, since most of it was stuck with me killing random enemies and looting random boxes, which isn't the kind of game I exactly enjoy. This, of course, does not mean that Halo couldn't take advantage of this format and use each objective, each exploration to have a purpose to further the plot in the game. And that would take the open world format, apply it to what your objectives are, and make the focus back onto the plot. It could be ridding each section of the ring from the banished infiltrators, and that would be interesting because it would show that you need to get all of this ring completely vanquished of any enemies. Then you would have a reason to explore each area, while also a main overarching goal that connects the plot and your adventuring, giving the open world format a purpose in the game. Halo has been known as the plot-driven, challenging, while exciting shooter game where you can play as a single character fighting through hordes of enemies, or as a multiplayer working together to obtain a team goal or going out for solo glory. And in this game, this is the main concept. And if you change that concept, you may change the game fundamentally itself. If it veers too far from what Halo has always been, the changes could be terrible because people know Halo for that one thing, and if it doesn't have that core basis of the game, it's not the same game. It's just like Minecraft, how they're able to keep the basis of the game and still change. That's what Halo Infinite needs to do. It needs to find boundaries, but also accept that the good parts need to stay for people to be excited. Just like how Halo 5 removed Master Chief from the main story for the most part. He had like 2 levels, but without him being the focus, people were disinterested in this other guy's story. It's not that he was a terrible character. I don't really think so, but I don't particularly like him. But the thing is, without Master Chief, the guy who's been there for every other game except Reach, which is a good one-off story, and it's not about Master Chief, it's a prequel, but that's fine, it leads right into the main game. Without Halo main title being about Master Chief, it's just not the same. And that's what we're really getting at here. If you change too much about the game format, it can change so much about how people's perception of it is. And Halo needs to keep that in mind while doing this open world format, because it's something the game hasn't really veered too much into. It's mainly linear. It has those straight objectives that you want to complete, and it needs to keep that while also doing so, expanding the world as it sought out to do. The game can add new elements, new features, new enemies, but it has to keep the core that made it so popular in the first place. Without that, it's just a shell of what it once was. It's like a sequel that has no meaning to ever exist. It has to have a reason to be called Halo Infinite or Halo 6. It has to be a continuation of that story, but a continuation of what made the game so popular in the first place. Well guys, that's gonna do it for the video. I did not do Halo in a while because there wasn't anything I really wanted to talk about since there wasn't much new, but now that I've thought of this question, I really wanted to dive into it because I think it's important for Halo to succeed. I have hope for it, but really, we just need to see if they deliver on what they're trying to do. The open world could be a great addition, or it could be something that ends it and finally puts the Halo franchise in the grave. It's something that I don't want to happen, but it could possibly if they ruin the charm that it always had. But with that, like and subscribe if you did enjoy, comment your thoughts down below, and see you guys next time!